Salams and welcome. I think of leaving South Africa. I know some people, depending on the political climate or depending on the mood, some people decide, hey, let's leave this country, let's go better. There's better places in New Zealand, Australia, London, Dubai, Turkey. But before you leave, you must always just remember that sometimes a place you want to go to may just look nice from the outside, but you must always remember every country, every city in the world has got its own problems. Our problems in South Africa are not unique. Countries throughout the world have got problems with their government. Countries throughout the world have got problems with corruption. Countries throughout the world have got problems with crime. Yes, but we know in our case, crime is higher. So there I agree with you. But I've just come across two fabulous articles in the Australian newspaper, Oz New, and they talked about Sydney CBD. Sydney is one of the most huge popular cities in Australia. It is famous for the Opera House, Sydney Opera House is like one of the famous, like world famous sites to visit. Fabulous place. Sydney is wonderful, a beautiful place, very safe place, very clean place. But if you look further down, then you also find that there's problems within Sydney as well. I know some friends have gone to London, some have gone to Europe, and they say, and unless you are very wealthy or you've got money put away, it's going to be very difficult. It'll be difficult to find a job unless you're going there on a job visa. And then some friends of mine say that the wives also now have to work because the money they can't, the cost of living is very high. And so the wife ends up cleaning up hotel rooms, being a maid, cleaning up other people's dirty washing and laundry and washing the toilets and bathrooms. And they say this is not for us. So before you leave the country, you must decide where you're going to go, why you're going to go. But hopefully with this new GNU, the Government of National Unity with the ANC and the DA, we all pray that it will be the best thing for South Africa because this is based on a business model. So let's just look very briefly at Australia and what the Aussies are talking about. As the cost of living continues to bite down hard, new research shows that people aren't having others over in bid to save on electricity. So some people in Australia even stop inviting friends over in order to save on electricity, in order to save on the fridge cost, in order to save on electricity bills, in order to save on refreshments, because you have people over, you're going to give them refreshments from the fridge, and some people can't afford it. The managing director of Simon Banks, his name is Mr. Hawker Britton, says that the cost of living is the number one issue in Australia. So that's similar to South Africa. We also got a cost of living crisis here. So as I read the problems in Australia, in Sydney, try and think what's happening in South Africa, and it's the same thing. As the cost of living continues to bite down hard across the country, new research shows just how much of a mental toll it's taken on Aussies because cost of living leads to stress. A survey of 1,500 people who had reached out to the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army is a philanthropic charity organization that helps people in distress, the poor, the homeless, and so on. And they revealed that the cost of living pressures were the main contributors to poor mental health. People are becoming more stressed out. 67% recognized the negative impact their financial situation had on their mental health, with 70% losing sleep frequently. They can't sleep at night because of the debt. They can't sleep at night because of the bills. They can't sleep at night. It's just affecting them on the brain. There's so much debts. There isn't money for food. There isn't money for paying rent, for electricity, for petrol expenses. Same problem in South Africa. There's no different. So it doesn't matter whether you're a white Australian in Australia or a black South African in Africa. It's the same thing. Wherever you go in the world, it's the same thing. Same problems everywhere. 60% also said their financial circumstances have led them to stop spending time with friends and family. The cost of living has put financial strains on people, even forcing many into homelessness. 40% admitted to stop having people over in order to save money on energy bills. And this has resulted in feelings of loneliness because they can't have people over. So what happens? You become more lonely. What happens? Your mind starts working. While it's normal to seek help for your mental health, 48% of people said, 46 to 48% said they can't even afford counseling services. They can't even go to a psychologist. The Salvation Army said these results were heartbreaking but not uncommon, becoming more and more common as time goes on. It is extremely sad to see these figures and to hear of the countless individuals and families who are struggling, not only financially, but also emotionally and mentally. Same thing like in South Africa. It's like as if I'm reading this from South Africa. We know there are hundreds of thousands of Australians in need of safe accommodation, meals, financial assistance, and other practical support. We also know there are potentially even more people who need a listening ear, a place for community, and a reason to have hope. The survey also looked into those with pets, with 80% reporting that their pet provided much needed emotional support during these difficult times. It's important to have a pet, whether you like a dog or a cat. Cats have that purring noise. The frequency is similar to our brain. It calms you down. And to have a loving dog, that's also very beneficial for your mental health. So 64% went a step further and revealed that their pets brought meaning and purpose to their life. They had something to look forward to. Imagine. So without a pet, you're even more lonely. So many people are turning to pets to give them some meaning and a reason to get up in the morning and do something. So the Salvation Army has asked people to donate, and even if you don't have money, then you can always donate clothing or furniture or canned foods, whatever you can, to the army. And another Sydney charity, the man who has been running a Sydney charity for for over a decade, he said that the current situation is the worst he has ever seen, and the COVID pandemic has made these things far worse. Many people have lost their jobs in the COVID pandemic, and many people are suffering from mental health issues. Same thing in South Africa. It's like as if it's ditto South Africa. Mr. Rick Herrera from the Swag family Sydney said he gets more than 200 calls help for a week for people looking for help, on top of feeding hundreds of people meals on the streets of Sydney CBD, Liverpool and Wollongong. What I'm seeing now, I have never seen before. More mothers and kids are sleeping in cars. We've got elderly people sleeping in cars. We've got families who can't afford just even the basic rent. He said he was even seeing people with homes coming out to queue for food, because people that actually have somewhere to live, even people with houses, by the time they finish pay the rent, electricity and phone bill, they got no money for food. So they go to the Salvation Army or to charities to get food. So this is a very sad situation, but what we are seeing in Sydney, Australia is very, very similar to what is happening in South Africa. So here we have a wonderful land. It's a beautiful land. We just pray and hope that our leadership get things going. We've got tremendous wealth in our country. We've got tremendous potential. And we just hope that the DA-ANC alliance with the government of national unity will be beneficial for all South Africans. Remember, at the end of the day, 90% of the people can't even leave South Africa. It's only the 10% most wealthy people who can leave. And unfortunately, when the wealthy people leave, they also go with the taxes. So we must try and keep our wealthy people in this country so then they can pay taxes. If they pay taxes, then our government got money to look after this country. And must remember, it's only two categories of people who leave the country. Those who got a lot of businesses, those who are wealthy, and those who are professionals. So if the professionals are leaving our country, it's called a brain drain. So hopefully with the DA-ANC alliance, the GNU, the Government of National Unity, our professionals will now stay in South Africa, our business leaders will stay in South Africa, and the wealthy people will invest in South Africa, and the overseas community will invest in South Africa. Already 40 countries have shown interest in investing in South Africa since the new GNU has formed, and that is fabulous news. So please, if you're considering leaving South Africa or emigrating, think twice before you leave it, because South Africa needs you. South Africa needs the professionals. South Africa needs the wealthy people, because the wealthy people create jobs. South Africa needs the business people, because it is the business people and the wealthy people who got enough money to create jobs to start a new business. So stay well, look after yourself, and let's try and make South Africa a wonderful place. Not only wonderful, but great for all people, the black, the white, Indian, colored, and the foreigners who are here on travel visa. Look after yourself and stay well.